Hey there everyone, this is Michael Dougal. I review nootropics, and during this video you're going to learn about some of my favorite nootropic supplements around handling ADHD so you can focus for long stretches of time and as a result become a lot more productive. And you'll especially find this information relevant if you're coming off of ADHD meds, because I've been there too. I took ritalin, Concerta, and vyvanse for many years thinking that I had ADHD. Perhaps I was misdiagnosed, and fortunately through the use of nootropics as well as adjustments that I made in my daily routine like exercise and of course being mindful of having a good diet, I was able to get off my ADHD meds and I was able to concentrate and get through that withdrawal period, because unfortunately it will happen, especially if you're somebody who's used Adderall for a number of years. Trust that after you discontinue the use of it, you will probably feel pretty bad. What will happen is you will want to just be socially isolated. You'll feel like you're in a worse mood, and it's very common that you have pessimistic thoughts. So the good thing is now you're aware of that and you just know that things will get better with time. And to keep in mind that the stronger the stimulant is, the worse the withdrawals will be. And this can even be said about a very simple compound like caffeine, which a lot of us take. If you were to ingest 400 milligrams of caffeine, you can expect that about 4 hours later you're going to feel somewhat of a crash and some brain fog. So the first question that I want to answer before getting into some of my favorite nootropics around ADHD is, do you need to start off with a nootropic stack? And the answer is no. One of the biggest differences between taking nootropic supplements versus like ADHD meds is with ADHD meds you can most likely predict what they're going to do. If you give them to 100 people, they're commonly going to respond the same way, whether it's more energy, whether it's faster processing speed when you're reading things. But when it comes to the world of nootropics, it is so individualized. There are nootropics that work for me, they may not work for you, and you will find this again and again and again. So because of that, rather than going ahead and starting off with 5 nootropics, go ahead and start off by taking them one at a time. You may want to introduce one nootropic supplement into your daily routine. Try it for a week, try it for 2 weeks perhaps if you're not sure if it's worth using and if you don't maybe feel the effects. Like, one of the major problems is if you were to go ahead and create a stack and just start taking that stack right off the bat, then what will happen is if you don't feel good and you're having an adverse reaction, you can't identify what exactly was responsible for that. Fortunately, I'm pretty sensitive to nootropics, so I trusted in like the whole racetam process. I first started taking paracetam, I responded okay, and then I added aniracetam and some of the other ones, and I felt pretty good about that. And then what happens is when you actually start taking time off of nootropics, that's very often when you notice whether or not they're working. So it'll really be helpful if you have a good objective way of measuring whether or not the nootropic supplements are working. With ADHD, it's a little bit easier because you can just be more mindful of your ability to concentrate. Again, like concentrate on things for a long period of time, and your productivity. For me, it was income. Because I'm in a sales job, naturally as a result of taking nootropics, you can look at your sales number and then better decide, okay, maybe I need to tweak my stack because over the past few months I didn't perform as well as I usually do. So if you are totally new to nootropics and you're totally new to like nootropic stacking or nootropic stacking strategies, then I would highly recommend you watch this video right over here where I went over 10 simple nootropic stacks that you can consider taking, and most of them are just taking 2 supplements, or sometimes there were 3, and that'll give you a better idea of where to start. Now, some of my favorite with respect to ADHD and what I'm currently using and that's in my routine right now, the first one would be Rhodiola Rosea, and you'll find that Rhodiola Rosea is very good for heightening alertness, heightening attention. It's especially good at fighting fatigue, so you'll find it useful especially in the afternoon time when you're feeling a little bit of a lack of concentration. Maybe you're a bit tired, maybe you've had some bad experiences in the beginning portion of the day that you just want to forget about. I like to think of Rhodiola Rosea as taking a nap in a pill, because that's really how it feels. And if you actually take a look at examine.com, you can see there is a lot of research backing the use of Rhodiola Rosea. I love it for stress. You'll find that it will almost instantly make you in a better mood, and that will really help you out if you're experiencing withdrawals, because when you take Rhodiola Rosea, you can in most cases feel it straight away. It'll help you with concentration, and you'll find it good regardless of whatever work you do, whether you're a student, whether you're in a sales job like myself, or an entrepreneur. What so is, it may not help you too much to get like a cognitive boost in terms of maybe like boosting your memory or helping you look at tasks from a different perspective, but more so it'll help you just to perform at baseline, especially when you're tired, and so that's why it's relevant if you're experiencing withdrawals. The second nootropic would be Noopept, and Noopept is great around productivity, around performance, around focus. Some users of Noopept are more sensitive to it, and that's why you'll hear pretty good things about it, whereas some people may experience brain fog, or what's more common is people just don't notice it at all. So what I would recommend is if you are taking Noopept, you have to be really mindful of how you're feeling and the results most importantly, because commonly I'll hear people say, like with Noopept, I don't know what happened, but I started using Noopept and my income's up, and that was my experience with it as well. It definitely does sharpen your focus. You'll find that when you use Noopept, you can easily focus on those high priority activities, those high paying activities, and you can take your focus off of all of these smaller things. And Noopept, it's a very interesting nootropic because we're looking at very small dosages. Dosages like 10 milligrams a day, 20 milligrams or 30 milligrams, whereas with other nootropics, we're usually looking at like 500 milligrams plus. So it's potent. I get the best results when I take it right under my tongue and let it sit there. Then you may want to go ahead and get yourself a scale. You can get it in the capsule form and put it under your tongue, but be mindful of the fact that if you do get it in capsules, it's probably going to contain fillers, which you may not want to consume under your tongue, but it could work out that way and you should likely feel some sort of focus boost. And with Noopept, it's important that you take some time off here and there. As you start taking it, you will build somewhat of a tolerance, and that was a mistake that I made the first year that I was taking Noopept. And what's great about Noopept is it doesn't really take too much time to start working, and that can be said about Rhodiola, Rosea as well. With a lot of nootropic supplements, like take ashwagandha for example, you will likely see the results after a couple of weeks of continuous daily use. And the next nootropic supplement is going to be lion's mane, and this one is a little bit interesting because if you were to say to me, Michael, I have ADHD, what can I use? It would really depend on specifically like how you're feeling. Lion's mane, I think it's really good for people who have like mood issues. Maybe they're experiencing some depression symptoms. Maybe they're just not feeling fulfilled. They're not feeling aligned. That's when lion's mane can really help to fix things up. It's a pretty powerful nootropic. You'll find you're able to find fulfillment in your day. You'll find that at the end of the day, you're just more likely to be excited for the following day, knowing that there's learning experiences, knowing that you're willing to fail forward because it will shift your perspective on failure and make you enthusiastic towards that. Helps you to really see things more long term. And so I personally did find lion's mane was helpful around ADHD, around giving me some focus, giving me some clarity, but that's not for everyone because that's really lion's mane for you. It's not something you would necessarily take for productivity. It's more so something you would take for mood, to help you feel less stressed, to help to kind of like brighten your perspective on things. And that's why it's not often in a lot of nootropic blends out there, like Quality Mind, for example. Quality Mind is a nootropic blend that's designed around performance and productivity. But it's worth giving a try. If you are going to give it a shot, I would recommend you get the 8-to-1 dual extract. You can find that on Nootropics Depot, and I absolutely love lion's mane. I plan to take it for however many more years I am alive. I've talked about it in depth in this video over here, and I went over the dosage, side effects, and what you can feel from taking it. And our next nootropic at better handling ADHD-like symptoms would be L-Tyrosine. I absolutely love L-Tyrosine. Major pros with this one, there are some cons. It's found in chicken breast. It's also found in very high amounts in egg whites. The question comes like, why would you take L-Tyrosine in supplemental form? And the reason for that is because when you take L-Tyrosine independently, you really feel the effects. You will find yourself more alert. You will find yourself having much better concentration. It's very similar to caffeine. Like when you ingest caffeine, you feel a bit of a euphoria. You want to go ahead and look at your to-do list and get things done, or maybe you're thinking about money. It makes it such that you get that kick of dopamine for you to be willing to take actions that are going to result in a specific award. You get that goal-driven behavior, and as a result, it makes you very productive. And the great thing about it is that you will not likely feel any sort of crash with it when you ingest caffeine. Rather, what happens is a few hours later you can feel, of course, that brain fog, that like sluggish feeling, maybe you're low on energy. But with L-Tyrosine, you'll find that it is a whole lot smoother. However, it doesn't last for that long. For most people, it seems to be about 90 minutes. And where I especially like using L-Tyrosine is pre-workout. You'll often find that when you use it prior to performance, whether it's cardio or lifting weights, that you will have a much better workout. You'll be able to build muscle, get that muscle hypertrophy you want. Or with fat loss, it really does actually help you get the fat out of the fat cells into the bloodstream. And then once it's in the bloodstream, you can effectively use it as fuel and burn off that fat. However, there are side effects often reported when it comes to anxiety, but I can't think of any other like naturally occurring supplement out there that is this good for ADHD. Like, it's really worth giving a shot to, especially in the evening if you're lacking a little bit of focus and you don't want to reach out for that caffeine, because caffeine will keep you up at night. That's when L-Tyrosine is a great supplement to use. So for that reason, I would highly recommend that you look into it. Common dosages of L-Tyrosine when you're using it for focus are about 750 milligrams. If you were to take 1 gram plus. It may still do the job, but it really doesn't like work more effectively. It may last a little bit longer. I find that for me it's 750 milligrams and I'm feeling great. But be mindful that if you're somebody like myself that spends a lot of time on the phone in conversations, maybe you're making presentations, it can actually increase anxiety levels a little bit. So you have to look at the pros, look at the cons. The pros are that you will be better fighting off stress, so you'll be able to maybe handle objections, but the cons are that you may not be able to have that like deep level of rapport that you would naturally feel if you weren't using something like L-Tyrosine. I really hope you found this information helpful. Do comment below, what is your favorite nootropic supplement to better handle ADHD-like symptoms? And if you did get value from the video, please consider subscribing. And if you're already subscribed, then I'm expecting to see your comment in the comment section below. And if you would like to speak with me one-on-one, you can do so over on my Patreon page or send me a direct message on Instagram. And be sure to visit our Discord server where we have a 24/7 chat room where we have people from all over the world connecting in this one space, and it's great for time-sensitive questions. I thank you for your interest in nootropics, and I will look forward to seeing you all next time.